Want a sharper mind? Try these 10 proven brain training techniques. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to think faster, make better decisions, spot opportunities before everyone else, and stay mentally sharp no matter their age, there's a reason. And it's not luck. It's not genetics. It's not some mystical gift available only to a few chosen ones. It's training, mental training, the kind that rewires your brain, boosts your focus, strengthens your memory, expands your creativity, and turns your mind into an unstoppable engine for success, clarity, and prosperity. A sharper mind doesn't just help you think better, it helps you live better. It transforms the way you see challenges, the way you handle stress, the way you pursue wealth, the way you show up for your dreams. Today, I'm going to show you 10 powerful, science-backed, proven brain training techniques used by high achievers, millionaires, elite thinkers, and creative visionaries. Techniques that can elevate your mind from scattered to laser-focused, from tired to energized, from reactive to deeply strategic. If you want a sharper mind, a mind that works for you instead of against you, a mind that becomes your greatest wealth-building asset, then this video is for you. Let's get straight into it. Topic 1. The power of intentional mental activation. Most people wake up and immediately slip into the mental equivalent of sleepwalking. Their minds drift, react, stumble into the day without direction, without clarity, without purpose. But high performers, entrepreneurs, visionaries, and creators who build extraordinary wealth understand something profoundly simple yet life-changing. Your mind does not wake up sharp. It is sharpened. And the moment you grasp that, your entire reality begins to shift. Intentional mental activation is the art of consciously powering on the highest version of your mind before the world has a chance to pull you into chaos. It is a deliberate ignition of thought, awareness, and presence. It is the brain saying, "I know where I am going today." Without this activation, your thoughts wander. With activation, they focus. Without activation, your day feels random. With activation, it becomes designed. This is how the world's most strategic thinkers operate. They never leave their mental state to chance. Look at Warren Buffett, a man whose entire fortune is built on thinking well. Before anyone else starts sending messages, making demands, or rushing into the noise of the world, Buffett immerses himself in reading, deep reading, not scrolling. He activates his mind to see patterns, not distractions. He conditions his brain to think decades ahead, not minutes. It is not arrogance, it's training. Oprah Winfrey begins her day with quiet reflection and intention setting, a moment in which she opens her internal space before allowing external noise in. That is mental activation. Elon Musk mentally warms up by diving into complex problems before the world catches up to him. He doesn't ask his brain to perform miracles while half asleep. He primes it. He challenges it. He wakes it fully. Your brain is not just a biological structure. It is your wealth engine. It is the generator of every idea, every decision, every opportunity, every breakthrough you will ever experience. When you start your day without activating it, you're essentially driving a sports car with the engine off. You might move, but you will not accelerate. You will not perform. You will not feel the power that is already inside you. Most people don't realize how fast their minds could run if they simply learned how to turn them on. Intentional mental activation rewires your cognitive pathways. Neuroscience shows that the brain responds immediately to focus and intention. When you direct your mind deliberately, you activate neural networks responsible for planning, reasoning, decision-making, creativity, and emotional regulation. It is like flipping a switch from passive to powerful, and your brain loves this. It thrives on challenge. It strengthens with use. Mental sharpness is not a trait. It is a trained state. And like all training, it compounds. The more you activate your mind, the stronger your cognition becomes. Imagine beginning each morning with your thoughts already organized, your emotions already centered, your vision already clear. Imagine stepping into your day with the same kind of mental readiness that CEOs of trillion-dollar companies cultivate. Apple does not begin meetings by asking people to react. They begin with intention, clarity of purpose, alignment of mind. Amazon does not build innovation on automatic thinking. It trains people to ask better questions. Tesla does not push the boundaries of technology by following routine thinking. It awakens minds to think beyond the obvious. These companies thrive because they understand the same principle you are learning right now. A sharp mind must be activated before it can create extraordinary results. The transformative power of intentional mental activation lies in its simplicity. You don't need hours. You don't need a complicated ritual. You need to choose consciously to wake your mind up. You need to give it something stimulating. You need to invite it into higher thinking. It can be one page of a powerful book that stretches your perspective. It can be a challenging question that forces you to think deeper about your life, your goals, or your identity. It can be a moment of visualization in which you embody the version of yourself who operates with clarity and confidence. Even one deep thought can ignite your mental potential for the entire day. When you activate your mind intentionally, you interrupt the brain's default mode, a network responsible for rumination, anxiety, repeating old emotional loops, and replaying yesterday's problems. In this default state, your thoughts feel heavy, slow, and cluttered. When activation happens, you shift into your executive mode, the network that produces insight, strategic thinking, innovation, and emotional stability. This is where millionaires make decisions. This is where breakthroughs happen. This is where your power lives. And here's something most people never realize. Your brain learns from the standard you set every morning. If you wake up and drift, your brain internalizes drifting as your identity. If you wake up and activate, your brain internalizes clarity as your identity. It begins selecting thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that match sharpness. You start becoming the kind of person who naturally thinks better, sees opportunities faster, solves problems with calm confidence, and handles challenges with intelligence rather than stress. You step into a new psychological frequency, one aligned with success, abundance, and prosperity. Think of your mind as the most valuable real estate you will ever own. Every morning you get to choose whether it becomes cluttered or clean, reactive or intentional, dormant or activated. High achievers choose activation because they know the consequences of mental laziness. They know that wealth is built first in thought before appearing in reality. They know that clarity precedes prosperity. They know that a sharp mind becomes a magnetic force for opportunities. When your mind is awake, life responds differently to you. People sense the difference. Your presence changes, your creativity expands, your confidence becomes visible. Your decisions become more aligned with your highest potential. Intentional mental activation is not a morning routine. It is a declaration. It is you saying to life, I choose to think clearly today. I choose to operate from my highest self. I choose to be sharp, present, and powerful. And once you begin living this way, you can never go back, because you will feel the difference. You will feel your mind becoming your ally instead of your enemy. You will feel focus replacing overwhelm. You will feel inspiration replacing fatigue. You will feel your thoughts accelerating into a new level of intelligence that attracts abundance and success. This is the first step to sharpening your mind, and perhaps the most important one. Before you train memory, focus, creativity, or strategic thinking, you must activate the instrument that creates all of it. Your mind is waiting for you to turn it on, and once you do, the world will never look the same again. Topic 2. Strengthening neural focus through single-task mastery. There's a reason why some people achieve extraordinary results, while others, equally talented, equally capable, remain stuck in cycles of distraction, overwhelm, and mental scatteredness. The difference is not intelligence. It's not potential. It's not even discipline in the traditional sense. The difference is focus, pure, undiluted, intentional focus. And yet, in a world that constantly screams for your attention, true focus has become one of the rarest and most powerful forms of mental wealth. When you master single-tasking, you ignite one of the strongest cognitive training mechanisms available to the human brain. You teach your mind to go deep instead of wide, to concentrate instead of fracture, to create instead of consume. Most people underestimate how damaging constant multitasking is. They think they're being productive when they jump between messages, emails, social media, and tasks. But neuroscientists have shown repeatedly that multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and every switch drains cognitive energy. You lose sharpness, you lose efficiency, you lose the mental bandwidth required for meaningful thinking. But when you deliberately train your brain to focus on one task at a time, something incredible happens. Your neural pathways strengthen. Your executive function expands. Your cognitive speed increases. and your ability to process information becomes exponentially sharper. This is not just theory, it's visible in the lives of real millionaires and innovators. Take Bill Gates, for example. Gates built Microsoft through long stretches of uninterrupted deep work, where he entered such intense focus that hours passed like minutes. He protected his focus like a sacred resource because he understood that 1 hour of deep concentration could outperform 10 hours of scattered effort. Steve Jobs was notorious for his obsession with simplicity, and simplicity is the child of focus. His ability to strip away noise and concentrate on essence was not personality. It was trained mastery. Even modern creators like Jeff Bezos attribute their best decisions to uninterrupted blocks of thought, not rushed multitasking sessions. Bezos often said that his most important job was to think. Not react, not rush, not multitask. Think. And that level of thinking requires deep focus. Single-task mastery is a kind of cognitive meditation. It teaches your brain how to stay in one mental lane without drifting. It forces your attention to stabilize, and over time, this becomes a superpower. Imagine reading a book and actually absorbing every sentence. Imagine working on a project and finishing it in half the time because your mind didn't wander. Imagine having conversations where you're fully present and people feel genuinely heard. Imagine solving problems with precision instead of scattered guesses. This is what happens when you train your brain to focus. Your mental world becomes sharper, louder, more vibrant. You begin to feel a sense of control over your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. The process of strengthening neural focus begins the moment you decide that your attention is valuable. Every time you resist the urge to switch tasks, you strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for concentration, decision-making, and impulse control. Think of it like lifting weights. The more repetitions, the stronger the muscle. Every time you stay with a task despite boredom, your mind learns endurance. Every time you resist a distraction, you train mental discipline. Every time you choose depth over speed, you expand your cognitive bandwidth. Your brain learns that you are the authority, not the external world demanding constant reactions. The shift becomes even more profound when you start to feel the internal benefits. Single-task mastery activates flow states more easily. Those moments when time disappears, creativity heightens, and productivity feels effortless. Psychologists call flow the highest form of human performance, and it cannot be accessed through multitasking. Your brain must be fully engaged, fully immersed, fully present. Flow is the mind's reward for focus, and once you taste it, you will never want to go back to a life of shallow attention. Companies that dominate industries also cultivate this culture of focus. Google created no meeting days to allow employees to concentrate on deep work. Meta encourages flow state engineering sessions. Tesla thrives on intense bursts of singular focus, where teams lock into a problem with full cognitive power. These environments are not accidental. They are built on the understanding that human brilliance requires uninterrupted mental space. The sharper the focus, the greater the innovation. But here's where it becomes truly life-changing. When you strengthen your ability to focus on one thing at a time, you also sharpen your ability to focus on what truly matters in your life. Your priorities become clearer, your goals feel more aligned, your mind stops chasing shiny distractions and begins moving with intention. You stop scattering your energy across 1,000 meaningless tasks and start directing it toward the few actions that genuinely move your life forward. This is how clarity turns into success. This is how focus becomes wealth. Think of successful investors. They don't invest in everything. They choose the few opportunities that matter. Think of successful entrepreneurs. They don't pursue every idea. They focus on the one that aligns with their vision. Think of successful creators. They don't produce content in every direction. They stay consistent with what resonates deeply. Focus is the gatekeeper of abundance. Without it, your energy leaks everywhere. With it, your mind becomes a laser of creation. As you train your brain through single-task mastery, you will feel a shift not just in your productivity, but in your identity. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to feel capable of handling complex challenges without drowning in them. You begin to notice how calm you feel when your mind isn't trying to juggle 10 thoughts at once. You begin to enjoy the sensation of finishing what you start. You begin to feel proud of your ability to concentrate when others can't. And this pride becomes momentum. Momentum becomes consistency. Consistency becomes transformation. You will also notice something profound. Your mind becomes quieter. When you focus on one task, your brain stops jumping between internal conversations. The mental noise fades, your thoughts align, your nervous system relaxes. And with that calmness comes clarity. Clarity that helps you see opportunities, patterns, and pathways you never noticed before. The sharper your focus, the wider your awareness becomes. It's a beautiful paradox that only disciplined thinkers understand. Single-task mastery is an act of reclaiming your power in a world trying to fragment it. It is one of the most effective brain training techniques because it strengthens both your cognition and your character. It teaches patience, resilience, intentionality. It teaches your mind to stay with something long enough to understand it, long enough to complete it, long enough to master it. And mastery of anything, whether a task, a skill, or your own thoughts, always leads to prosperity. If you want a sharper mind, begin with focus. Not the kind of focus that lasts a few seconds before being derailed, but the deep, sustained, intentional focus that reshapes the architecture of your mind. Train it daily, honor it fiercely, and watch as your inner world transforms, giving birth to an outer reality filled with success, clarity, and abundance. Topic 3. Expanding cognitive capacity through mental flexibility. One of the most fascinating truths about the human mind is that it is never fixed. It is constantly changing, reorganizing, adapting, and expanding based on how you use it. Yet most people live as if their mental abilities are permanent, as if their intelligence, creativity, and cognitive power are static traits handed out at birth. This belief has quietly limited millions of lives. The reality is far more empowering. Your brain has an extraordinary ability to grow, and the secret behind this growth is something called mental flexibility. It is the capacity to shift perspectives, adapt to new information, abandon outdated thinking patterns, and explore possibilities beyond the obvious. When you strengthen mental flexibility, you don't just become smarter, you become more resilient, more intuitive, more innovative, and more capable of navigating complexity with ease. Mental flexibility is at the heart of every great breakthrough in business, science, art, and wealth creation. Think about Jeff Bezos leaving a stable, high-paying job to build an online bookstore during a time when the internet was barely understood. That decision required a mind flexible enough to envision a future no one else could see. Think about Sarah Blakely, who transformed an ordinary idea into Spanx by refusing to think like the traditional fashion industry. Her flexibility allowed her to see simplicity where others saw impossibility. Or consider the founders of Airbnb, who reimagined the concept of hospitality not by competing with hotels, but by transforming the homes of ordinary people into global accommodations. These visionary leaps were not accidents. They were the result of flexible thinking, the willingness to challenge norms, to bend mental patterns, to allow the brain to stretch beyond comfort zones. Mental flexibility is also deeply connected to emotional intelligence. When your mind is rigid, you interpret life through narrow filters. You cling to familiar beliefs, defend old viewpoints, and resist change, even when change is the very thing that could elevate your life. But when your mind becomes flexible, you begin to approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear, with openness instead of resistance. You start asking better questions. What else could this mean? What is another way to solve this? What perspective am I missing? These internal questions ignite new neural pathways, and with each question, your cognitive capacity grows. The reason mental flexibility sharpens the brain is rooted in neuroplasticity. Each time you break a habitual thought pattern, your brain forms new synaptic connections. Each time you consider an alternative viewpoint, your prefrontal cortex strengthens. Each time you expose yourself to unfamiliar ideas, your cognitive range expands. This is why people who embrace new experiences often remain mentally sharp into old age, while those who cling to routine find their thinking becoming sluggish. Flexibility keeps the mind alive. Rigidity slowly shuts it down. Imagine your mind as a river. A flexible mind flows around obstacles, finding new pathways with ease. A rigid mind crashes into every rock, unable to move forward. When your brain learns how to bend, it becomes unstoppable. It navigates uncertainty without losing power. It sees opportunities where others see dead ends. It adapts quickly, one of the most valuable traits in the modern world, where technology, markets, and knowledge evolve at lightning speed. Look at top-performing companies. Tesla thrives because it allows its teams to question assumptions daily, often tearing apart their own ideas to rebuild them stronger. SpaceX innovates by encouraging mental flexibility at every level, where no belief is immune from re-examination. Amazon's famous working backwards method forces employees to think from multiple perspectives, training mental elasticity as a foundational skill. These companies win because they don't rely on rigid thinking. They cultivate minds comfortable with fluidity. On a personal level, strengthening your mental flexibility begins with your willingness to think differently. It requires humility, the understanding that you don't have all the answers. It requires courage to step into unfamiliar intellectual territory. It requires patience as your brain learns new ways of processing information. But the reward is tremendous. You develop the ability to detach from old patterns that no longer serve you. You become better at solving problems creatively. You find yourself reacting less impulsively and thinking more strategically. You see the world not as something fixed, but as something you can shape. Consider how millionaires think about failure. A rigid mind sees failure as a verdict, a sign of inadequacy, something to avoid at all costs. A flexible mind sees failure as feedback, as information, as a doorway to improvement. This difference in interpretation is the difference between stagnation and growth. When you train your mind to reinterpret challenges, you activate deeper cognitive functions like emotional regulation, perspective shifting, and adaptive reasoning. These are the mental tools that protect you from stress and amplify your ability to stay solution-oriented in moments when others collapse. Mental flexibility also enhances creativity, because creativity thrives in spaces where the brain feels free to explore new connections. When you allow your thoughts to wander into unfamiliar territory, you build bridges between concepts that previously lived in separate corners of your mind. This cross-wiring is what produces innovation. It's why artists, scientists, and entrepreneurs often find inspiration in fields completely unrelated to their own. The flexible mind is a playground where ideas mix and transform. But flexibility is not just about big ideas. It shows up in everyday life. If someone speaks to you sharply and you respond with calm insight instead of defensiveness, that's mental flexibility. If plans change unexpectedly and you adjust without stress, that's cognitive agility. If you learn a new skill, adapt to a new environment, or rethink an old belief, that's the mind evolving. Every time you practice flexibility, you sharpen the edges of your intelligence and become mentally stronger. The beautiful thing about this technique is that it frees you. A rigid mind feels trapped often, trapped in old identities, old routines, old fears. But a flexible mind feels spacious. It breathes, it expands, it welcomes possibility. And the more your mind expands internally, the more your external reality expands to match it. You begin noticing opportunities you would have missed. You begin saying yes to experiences that elevate you. You begin forming ideas that feel bold and alive. Your world becomes bigger because your mind becomes bigger. This is why mental flexibility is one of the most essential brain training techniques for anyone seeking sharper cognition, deeper awareness, and greater prosperity. Success in the modern world requires the ability to pivot, rethink, and innovate at a moment's notice. Wealth does not flow to rigid systems. It flows to adaptable ones. Prosperity is not created by fixed thinking. It is created by minds willing to stretch, evolve, and grow. The more flexible your mind becomes, the more powerful your life becomes. And once you experience the mental freedom that comes from cognitive expansion, you will never again allow yourself to shrink back into rigidity. You will choose growth. You will choose possibility. You will choose the beautiful unfolding of a mind that is always becoming more. Topic 4. Elevating mental sharpness through strategic memory expansion. Memory is not just a storage system. It is the foundation of intelligence, creativity, problem-solving, and strategic thinking. When your memory becomes stronger, your entire mind becomes sharper. You think faster. You connect ideas more easily. You learn new skills with less effort. You make decisions with more confidence because your brain has access to richer internal data. Yet most people allow their memory to weaken over time simply because they never train it. They assume forgetting is a natural part of life. They assume memory decline is inevitable. They assume mental sharpness fades with age. But neuroscience paints a different picture. Your memory can grow, stretch, expand, and strengthen as long as you deliberately train it. Strategic memory expansion is a conscious practice of feeding, challenging, and stimulating the cognitive networks responsible for storing and retrieving information. It is not about memorizing random facts. It is about training your brain to absorb knowledge deeply and recall it effortlessly. It is about transforming your mind into a rich, interconnected system capable of linking ideas, recognizing patterns, and synthesizing information in ways that elevate your intelligence. Think about how successful entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors often quote books, statistics, stories, or historical trends from memory. They're not trying to impress anyone. Their brain simply holds more information, and because it does, their thinking becomes more complete, more strategic, more multidimensional. Take Elon Musk as an example. Before revolutionizing the automotive and aerospace industries, he consumed information at a scale most people would consider extreme. But it wasn't just reading, it was absorption. He trained his brain to integrate knowledge across physics, engineering, business, and philosophy. This cross-domain memory expansion is what allowed him to reinvent rockets using mental models stored years earlier. Warren Buffett famously spends nearly 80% of his day reading and internalizing knowledge, not because he has extra time, but because he understands the compounding nature of memory. The more he stores, the more accurate his decisions become. Memory is leverage. Memory is power. Memory is wealth in cognitive form. Strategic memory expansion transforms your brain into a library of success, but not an ordinary library, a curated one. A library filled with ideas that elevate your thinking, stories that shift your identity, frameworks that refine your understanding of the world. And the more you add to this internal library, the more refined your perception becomes. You begin to see patterns others miss. You begin to understand people more intuitively. You begin to recall solutions that work because your mind has experienced them in books, conversations, or past events. Memory training also improves cognitive speed. When your brain can retrieve information quickly, your thoughts flow effortlessly. You articulate ideas with clarity. You speak with authority because you remember what you know, instead of struggling to recall it. This is one of the reasons millionaire entrepreneurs often appear confident in interviews. They have trained their memory. They don't hesitate because they have access to large pools of internalized information. Their mind operates like a refined database, pulling answers from stored patterns. And this ability is not exclusive to them. Your brain is capable of the same performance once you begin training it intentionally. Neuroscience reveals that memory is strengthened through repetition, meaningful engagement, emotional connection, and novelty. When you encounter new information and process it deeply rather than superficially, your brain forms stronger synaptic connections. When you revisit concepts over time, these connections solidify. When you emotionally connect to ideas, through inspiration, curiosity, or storytelling, your retention increases dramatically. And when you expose your brain to new environments, new people, new skills, and new stimuli, your hippocampus grows stronger. This is why the world's most successful minds continuously challenge themselves. They learn new languages, pick up new skills, explore new industries, and read about subjects far outside their comfort zone. They understand that learning is not just acquiring knowledge, it is expanding the brain's capacity to hold it. Every new skill stretches your cognitive range. Every new concept deepens your intellectual roots. Every new experience adds another layer of richness to your memory system. Companies like Google and Apple invest heavily in continuous learning for their employees because stronger memory equals stronger innovation. When a team has access to vast internal information, brainstorming becomes deeper, engineering becomes smarter, creative solutions become more abundant. Memory is the raw material of innovation. Without it, ideas crumble. With it, they build empires. On a personal level, strategic memory expansion transforms the way you move through life. Imagine remembering names effortlessly, making people feel instantly valued. Imagine recalling important details during conversations, strengthening trust and connection. Imagine learning new skills faster, opening opportunities you once believed were out of reach. Imagine confidently quoting a powerful insight during a meeting, leaving a lasting impression. When your memory becomes sharp, your presence becomes magnetic. Memory expansion also strengthens identity. Every new idea you internalize shapes the way you see yourself and the world. When you feed your mind with content that inspires, elevates, and challenges you, your self-image upgrades. You begin to perceive yourself as someone who grows, who learns, who evolves continuously. And this perception becomes your reality. A mind rich in memory becomes a mind rich in confidence. But memory training is not just about absorbing information. It's also about retrieving it. The act of recalling strengthens neural pathways even more than the act of learning. When you take a moment to reflect on what you learned, when you discuss it with someone, when you write it down, or when you mentally rehearse key concepts, you reinforce the memory permanently. This is exactly why great thinkers journal, reflect, debate, teach, or write books. They don't just want to share. They want to strengthen their own mastery by recalling what they've internalized. Strategic memory expansion requires consistency, but the rewards are extraordinary. Your mind becomes sharper, your intelligence more fluid, your thinking more sophisticated. You begin seeing connections between concepts that seem unrelated. You begin generating ideas that feel original and powerful. You begin stepping into conversations with a presence that radiates certainty and clarity. You become mentally unshakable. And the truth is simple. The more you train your memory, the more your brain grows. The more it grows, the more capable you become. The more capable you become, the more confident you feel. And the more confident you feel, the more opportunities you naturally attract. This is the compounding effect of cognitive training. Just like money, memory grows exponentially when nourished. Strategic memory expansion is one of the most valuable gifts you can give your mind. It sharpens your thinking, stabilizes your emotions, fuels your creativity, enhances your communication, and strengthens your ability to make wise decisions. It transforms you from someone who simply reacts to life into someone who leads it with intelligence and intention. Your mind is ready to expand. Your memory is ready to strengthen. All it needs is your permission to grow. Topic 5. Accelerating mental sharpness through cognitive conditioning rituals. There is a profound truth about the human mind that few people ever fully understand. Your brain becomes what you repeatedly ask it to become. It adapts itself to the demands you place upon it. If you constantly expose it to distraction, it learns to be scattered. If you feed it negativity, it becomes vigilant for danger. If you train it only for survival, it stops reaching for growth. But if you deliberately shape it through cognitive conditioning rituals, it evolves into a sharper, stronger, more resilient, more creative instrument. A conditioned mind becomes a disciplined mind, and a disciplined mind becomes a prosperous mind. Cognitive conditioning rituals are the intentional habits, practices, and mental exercises that train your brain the way athletes train their bodies. Just as a runner strengthens endurance through consistent practice, your brain strengthens mental power through repetition and challenge. These rituals signal to your mind that improvement is expected, consistency is required, and excellence is the norm. This is what separates high performers from the average. They don't wait for clarity. They practice it daily. They don't wait for motivation. They condition it. They don't wait for creativity. They ignite it through ritual. Consider the mental routines of world-class thinkers, entrepreneurs, and wealth creators. They all have cognitive rituals that sharpen their minds. Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates and one of the most successful investors of all time, opens his day with meditation, not as a spiritual habit, but as a focus conditioning tool that quiets internal noise and strengthens emotional regulation. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, wakes up before dawn to begin cognitive activation rituals that prime his mind for high-stakes decision-making. Even athletes like Kobe Bryant used cognitive conditioning rituals before every practice session. Visualization, focus drills, mental rehearsals, because he understood that the mind controls the body, not the other way around. These examples illustrate something powerful. Ritual builds identity. When you practice cognitive conditioning consistently, your brain rewires itself to operate at a higher level. You begin to think differently, respond differently, create differently. A ritual may last only a few minutes, but the neurological impact lasts for hours, sometimes years. It stabilizes your focus, improves memory retention, boosts emotional clarity, strengthens discipline, and reduces cognitive fatigue. Most importantly, it tells your mind, this is how we operate now. And the mind listens. It adapts. Cognitive conditioning rituals can be mental warm-ups, reflective practices, pattern recognition exercises, internal questions that provoke insight, or deliberate exposure to new stimuli that challenge your thinking. The specific technique matters far less than the consistency behind it. What matters is that you choose rituals that elevate your awareness and sharpen your cognition. When your rituals are rooted in intention, they become powerful mental sculpting tools. They carve new pathways in your brain, strengthen existing circuits, and eliminate cognitive patterns that drain your mental energy. Why do rituals work so effectively? Because the brain loves predictability. It thrives on routine. It feels safe and focused when it knows what to expect. When you intentionally repeat the same mental rituals, your brain begins to anticipate the cognitive state you are creating. It transitions more quickly from distraction into clarity because it recognizes the pattern. Over time, these rituals become automatic triggers that pull you into higher-level thinking without effort. This is why top performers guard their rituals fiercely. They know they are the gateway to peak performance. Think of Jeff Bezos' reflection ritual before major decisions. He often steps back, journals, or thinks in silence, not because he needs more data, but because he needs a clearer mind. He conditions himself to avoid emotional decision-making. He trains his brain to think long-term, strategically, calmly. Or consider Oprah Winfrey, who uses gratitude and intention setting as daily rituals that center her mind, expand awareness, and elevate emotional intelligence. These rituals are cognitive anchors. They prevent the mind from drifting into fear, stress, or noise. Your brain becomes sharper not by accident, but by design. And design requires repetition. Imagine what would happen if every morning you practiced a ritual that calmed your nervous system, expanded your perspective, and activated your executive function. Imagine creating a nightly ritual that helped your brain integrate the day's learning so you woke up with more clarity and focus. Imagine using short rituals throughout the day to realign your mind when it drifts, breaks concentration, or absorbs too much stimulation. You would begin to notice a mental transformation that feels almost miraculous. But it's not a miracle. It's neuroscience. Cognitive conditioning rituals strengthen neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize, grow, and adapt. Each repetition of a ritual forms a deeper neural groove, making the conditioned state easier to access. Over time, the ritual becomes the bridge between your current level of thinking and your higher potential. This is why musicians practice scales, why chess players study patterns, why entrepreneurs journal insights, and why meditation practitioners build daily consistency. They're not just performing tasks, they're conditioning the mind for excellence. Another profound benefit of cognitive rituals is that they protect your mental energy. When you practice rituals that center your mind, you reduce cognitive load, the mental exhaustion that comes from constant decision-making, emotional management, and sensory overwhelm. A conditioned mind uses energy efficiently. It thinks deeply without drowning in complexity. It handles stress without losing clarity. It performs at high levels without burning out. Rituals also build self-trust. When you follow through consistently, your mind learns that you are reliable. It begins to align with your identity as someone disciplined, focused, and intentional. This identity shift is essential for success. Millionaires don't become wealthy by accident. They become wealthy because their minds operate with sharpness and resilience. Their rituals support their identity, and their identity supports their success. It becomes a feedback loop of empowerment. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of cognitive conditioning rituals is that they awaken your inner potential. They remind you that you are not stuck, limited, or defined by old patterns. Every ritual is a declaration that your mind belongs to you, not to distractions, not to fear, not to old stories, not to autopilot. Through ritual, you reclaim ownership of your mental world, and with ownership comes freedom. The freedom to think clearly, the freedom to choose your emotions, the freedom to create your future consciously instead of unconsciously repeating your past. A sharper mind is born from conditioned consistency. When you commit to cognitive rituals that elevate your thinking, you step into a level of mental mastery that changes your entire life. You begin to feel more in control of your thoughts. You begin to trust your intuition more deeply. You begin to operate with greater intelligence, clarity, and inner alignment. Your mind becomes a finely tuned instrument capable of extraordinary creation. And with that kind of mind, success becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. Topic 6. Enhancing mental clarity through deep rest and cognitive recovery. There is a silent truth about mental sharpness that high achievers understand instinctively, but most people ignore entirely. The mind cannot stay sharp if it is never allowed to rest. Cognitive power is not generated only through effort, focus, or training. It is also renewed through restoration. Yet so many people treat rest as a luxury, an afterthought, something to squeeze into leftover time rather than something to design intentionally. What they don't realize is that a rested mind performs at a level no amount of hustle can replicate. Deep rest is not weakness. Deep rest is strategy. Deep rest is the invisible force behind clarity, creativity, intelligence, and emotional resilience. In the same way athletes rely on recovery days to rebuild muscle, your brain relies on cognitive recovery to rebuild neural strength. When you push your mind relentlessly, you begin to experience mental fog, irritability, indecisiveness, forgetfulness, and emotional sensitivity. Most people misinterpret these signs as lack of discipline or lack of motivation, but they are really signals of cognitive overload. The brain is requesting restoration, and when you ignore that request, your mental capacity diminishes. But when you honor it, your mind transforms into a sharper, faster, more intuitive version of itself. Deep rest is more than sleep, although sleep is one of the most powerful cognitive enhancers in existence. Sleep is when your brain archives memories, integrates learning, clears toxins, repairs neural pathways, and reorganizes information. A single night of quality sleep can significantly improve problem-solving skills, emotional regulation, and logical reasoning. Billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Arianna Huffington openly prioritize sleep as a strategic advantage. They understand that every hour of rest sharpens every hour of work. Amazon's major decisions aren't made by an exhausted Bezos. They're made by a rested one, because he knows tired minds make expensive mistakes. But deep rest extends far beyond sleep. It includes mental stillness, emotional decompression, and cognitive silence. It is a deliberate pause in a world that constantly demands your attention. Elon Musk, despite his relentless schedule, takes specific mental breaks where he shuts down external noise to regain clarity. Warren Buffett often spends hours in quiet thought, a form of cognitive rest that allows his mind to process information effortlessly. Oprah practices mindful silence, moments of intentional calm that nourish her intuitive intelligence. These leaders understand that rest is not downtime, it is fuel. Cognitive recovery also restores your brain's ability to innovate. When your mind is constantly overloaded, it cannot see beyond the immediate moment. It becomes trapped in surface-level thinking. But when you step back, rest deeply, and allow your brain to reset, you create space for insight. Many breakthrough ideas are born not during intense work, but during rest, while showering, walking, traveling, or simply sitting in silence. This is no coincidence. Neuroscience shows that the brain's default mode network activates during restful states, allowing ideas to connect in new ways, leading to creative breakthroughs and intuitive clarity. This kind of rest is essential for decision-making. Cognitive fatigue makes people indecisive, reactive, and emotionally volatile. But when your mind is restored, decision-making becomes fluid. Patterns appear clearly. The right choices feel obvious. Your intuition becomes stronger because internal noise fades. You can sense your next steps with confidence rather than confusion. Many top investors, including Ray Dalio, credit their clarity to deliberate periods of rest between major decisions. They pause to reset the mind, knowing that clarity emerges from stillness, not chaos. Deep rest also strengthens emotional resilience. When your brain is overloaded, emotions feel heavier, stress feels more intense, small problems feel overwhelming. But when your mind is rested, emotions stabilize. The nervous system relaxes. You become less reactive, more centered, more grounded. You think before responding. You evaluate situations with wisdom rather than impulsivity. This emotional clarity becomes a superpower, especially in environments filled with pressure, competition, and uncertainty. And rest does something even more profound. It increases your capacity for abundance. Abundance is not created from exhaustion. Prosperity is not generated from burnout. Wealth, success, creativity, and high performance all require clarity. And clarity requires restoration. The wealthiest thinkers protect their rest the way they protect their assets. They understand that rest is an investment that multiplies returns. They don't feel guilty for stepping back. They know stepping back is often what allows them to leap forward. Imagine what your life would feel like if your mind wasn't constantly tired. Imagine waking up with clarity instead of mental fog. Imagine thinking creatively instead of forcing ideas. Imagine solving problems easily because your mind is refreshed. Imagine feeling emotionally stable, deeply intuitive, and mentally sharp because you've given your brain the space it needs to function at its best. This is what deep rest makes possible. Cognitive recovery is not passive. It is intentional. It is choosing to disconnect from stimulation so your brain can reconnect with its own intelligence. It is turning off the mental noise so insight can rise. It is giving yourself permission to breathe, pause, restore, and reset. And far from slowing you down, it accelerates everything. You perform better. You think clearer. You create more deeply. You execute with precision. You feel more aligned with your purpose. And your mind becomes a powerful ally instead of a drained engine struggling to stay alive. The truth is simple. A mind that never rests cannot stay sharp. But a mind that rests intentionally becomes unstoppable. Deep rest nourishes every cognitive function. It strengthens memory, boosts creativity, stabilizes emotion, enhances decision-making, and increases your ability to focus. It is the foundation upon which mental excellence is built. And once you begin to honor rest as a strategic part of success, you will never again sacrifice your clarity for constant activity. Your brain is ready to operate at its highest potential. It is ready to think clearly, create boldly, and perform exceptionally. All it needs is for you to give it the gift of recovery, the gift of stillness, silence, and restoration. This is how you sharpen your mind, not just for today, but for a lifetime. Topic 7. Sharpening cognitive agility through continuous learning and intellectual curiosity. If there is one trait that consistently separates people who grow, evolve, and prosper from those who remain stuck in the same patterns year after year, it is intellectual curiosity. A curious mind never becomes stagnant. It never becomes dull. It never stops expanding. Curiosity is the spark that ignites learning, and learning is the force that shapes intelligence. When you commit to continuous learning, you train your brain to stay flexible, alive, and engaged. You cultivate cognitive agility, the ability to think quickly, adapt instantly, and navigate complexity with confidence. In a world that changes at extraordinary speed, cognitive agility is not just an advantage. It is a necessity for anyone who wants a sharper mind and a prosperous life. Continuous learning is the practice of feeding your brain new information, new perspectives, new skills, and new challenges regularly, not occasionally. It is the opposite of mental stagnation. It is what keeps your neural circuits active and growing. People often associate learning only with school, but true learning begins after formal education ends. It happens in books, conversations, documentaries, podcasts, mentorships, experiences, and self-reflection. It happens when you allow yourself to explore areas that fascinate you. It happens when you step into worlds that are unfamiliar. Every new thing you learn becomes another tool in your cognitive toolbox, another thread in the tapestry of your intelligence. Look at the habits of the most successful people in the world, those who built empires, disrupted industries, and reshaped the world around them. They are all obsessive learners. Elon Musk learned aerospace engineering not through a degree but through consuming books and asking experts endless questions. Warren Buffett devours information daily, calling reading one of the most important habits of his success. Oprah Winfrey credits much of her wisdom to her relentless appetite for learning about human behavior, spirituality, and personal development. Jeff Bezos built Amazon by studying retail history, customer psychology, and the economics of scale. These individuals are not just smart, they are students of life. Their curiosity is their greatest teacher. Intellectual curiosity keeps your mind vibrant. When you learn something new, your brain forms new synaptic connections. These connections increase mental speed, strengthen memory, and enhance creativity. Learning literally changes the physical structure of your brain. It makes you more psychologically adaptive, meaning you can shift perspectives, embrace change, and approach challenges with greater resilience. Every piece of new knowledge becomes fuel for innovation. It expands your inner map of the world, giving you more ways to interpret and respond to life. The opposite of continuous learning is intellectual rigidity. This is when a person stops growing, not because they lack potential, but because they stop feeding their mind. A rigid mind becomes predictable, limited, and resistant to change. It clings to the familiar and avoids the unfamiliar. It becomes outdated quickly, especially in a world that evolves rapidly. But the flexible mind, the curious mind, thrives in change. It sees change as opportunity. It adapts quickly. It creates new paths when the old ones disappear. This is cognitive agility in action. Continuous learning also improves decision-making. The more knowledge you possess, the more accurate your mental models become. Mental models are the frameworks your brain uses to interpret the world. Successful people have vast libraries of mental models because they have invested years in learning, observing, and refining their thinking. When faced with a problem, their brain immediately draws on dozens of models, perspectives, and lessons. This leads to better decisions, faster insight, and clearer judgment. In contrast, a person with limited mental models struggles because their brain has fewer tools. They rely on instinct rather than intelligence, and while instinct can be powerful, it cannot replace knowledge. Intellectual curiosity fuels creativity as well. Creativity is not magic. It is the ability to combine ideas that previously seemed unrelated. The more you learn, the more raw material your mind has for creativity. Every new book, skill, or experience becomes another ingredient for innovation. Companies like Apple, Google, and Tesla rely on teams with high cognitive agility because innovation demands minds that think beyond the obvious. This is why they encourage constant learning. Their competitive advantage depends on the ability of their people to generate new ideas. Continuous learning is also deeply linked to emotional intelligence. A curious person is more open-minded and less judgmental. They seek to understand rather than assume. They listen more deeply. They ask more meaningful questions. They grow from discomfort instead of avoiding it. This emotional maturity improves relationships, communication, leadership, and confidence. A sharp mind is not just intellectually strong, it is emotionally wise. And emotional wisdom is cultivated through curiosity about oneself, others, and the human experience. Learning also strengthens your identity. When you grow intellectually, you begin to see yourself differently. You no longer identify with old limitations or outdated stories. You become someone who evolves, adapts, learns, and expands continuously. This identity shift creates momentum. You start believing in your ability to master anything. You stop fearing the unknown because you trust your mind's ability to learn what it needs. This confidence becomes a profound internal advantage. And there is something else. Continuous learning elevates your energy. When your mind is engaged with new ideas, you feel more alive. You feel inspired. You feel capable. There is a spark inside of you that reignites every time you discover something new. It awakens your desire to grow, to explore, to create a bigger life. Intellectual stagnation dims your inner light. Intellectual growth fuels it. Continuous learning does not require hours of study. It requires intention. It requires a mindset that says, I am willing to grow today. You can learn through a 10-minute podcast, a page of a book, a thoughtful conversation, or a short documentary. You can learn by asking better questions, by being curious about your assumptions, by exploring new perspectives. Every small act of learning compounds over time, creating a mind that feels sharper each year instead of weaker. This is how you train your brain for cognitive agility. This is how you keep your mind sharp, relevant, creative, and powerful. This is how you build a mental foundation strong enough to support the life of abundance and prosperity you desire. A curious mind is unstoppable because it never stops growing. And the more it grows, the more capable you become of shaping your destiny with intelligence, awareness, and clarity. Topic 8. Strengthening mental precision. Through mindfulness and applied presence. If there is one mental ability that can transform your clarity, your focus, your emotional balance, and your ability to make powerful decisions, it is the skill of presence. Presence is the art of anchoring your mind in the current moment with full awareness and deliberate attention. It is the opposite of mental drift, the opposite of overthinking, the opposite of distraction. When your mind is present, it becomes sharp. When your mind is present, it becomes calm. When your mind is present, it becomes precise. But presence is not something that simply happens. It is a skill. And like every skill, it can be trained, strengthened, and refined through mindfulness. Mindfulness is not about emptying your mind or escaping reality. It is about becoming aware of reality with heightened clarity. It is noticing your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. It is feeling your emotions without drowning in them. It is seeing your environment without rushing through it. The moment you become aware, the moment you observe instead of react, the moment you choose intention instead of autopilot, you enter a state of immense cognitive power. In this state, your brain operates more efficiently, your focus tightens, your creativity expands, your decisions improve because you are not driven by mental noise but by conscious recognition. This mental precision is why mindfulness has become a powerful tool among CEOs, entrepreneurs, and high-performance thinkers who must navigate complex decisions daily. Ray Dalio incorporates mindfulness into his routine to strengthen emotional regulation and clarity. Oprah Winfrey practices mindfulness to enhance intuition and deepen emotional intelligence. Even tech leaders like Satya Nadella encourage mindful presence throughout Microsoft's culture to elevate focus and reduce cognitive overload. These individuals do not practice mindfulness as a trend. They use it as a strategic cognitive enhancer. Mindfulness sharpens the mind because it teaches you to interrupt automatic thought patterns. Most people live in a loop of repetitive thinking, worries about the future, regrets about the past, assumptions about others, judgments about themselves. These loops drain mental energy. They create fog. They weaken cognitive performance. But when you become present, those loops lose their grip. You begin to observe your thoughts objectively. You start recognizing which thoughts build you and which thoughts break you. You learn to choose what you think instead of letting your brain operate without supervision. This ability to step back and observe your mind is the foundation of mental precision. It allows you to redirect your attention with intention. It helps you remain calm under pressure. It gives you the clarity to make decisions based on genuine insight rather than emotional impulse. A present mind sees the situation clearly. A distracted mind invents stories that distort reality. The more present you become, the more intelligent your responses become. Mindfulness also strengthens your brain's executive functions, the systems responsible for planning, problem-solving, creativity, and self-control. Neuroscience shows that mindfulness increases gray matter density in regions associated with memory and attention, while reducing activity in the brain regions linked to fear and stress. This means you literally rewire your brain to become calmer, clearer, sharper, and more emotionally stable. This is why individuals who practice mindfulness regularly often appear grounded even in high-pressure environments. Their minds know how to return to center quickly. Presence also enhances creativity. When your mind is calm and aware, ideas flow more freely because they are not being blocked by noise. You see connections that were previously hidden. You notice possibilities you once overlooked. Many innovators experience their most creative breakthroughs in moments of deep presence, while walking, showering, meditating, or simply breathing with awareness. This is not coincidence. It is the brain entering a state of mental spaciousness where innovation thrives. Mindfulness trains you to pause before reacting. This pause is incredibly powerful. Within that pause, your intelligence has room to speak. Your intuition rises. Your emotions settle. Your mind becomes capable of responding instead of reacting. This shift is life-changing. It improves relationships, communication, leadership, negotiation, and conflict resolution. When you are present, you listen more deeply. You speak more consciously. You understand others more intuitively. Presence sharpens both your internal and external intelligence. Think about the leaders who are known for their calm, magnetic presence. People like Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, or Steve Jobs. They carried a sense of stillness with them, a sense of awareness, a sense of clarity that radiated through their words and actions. That stillness was not accidental. It was trained. It was the result of a mind that knew how to anchor itself fully in the moment. This kind of presence is what creates influence. People feel drawn to someone who is mentally here, rather than lost in their thoughts. Mindfulness also improves decision-making because it reduces cognitive bias. When your mind is clouded by worry or stress, your decisions become reactive and short-sighted. But when you practice presence, you see the full picture. You become aware of your assumptions. You evaluate possibilities with greater accuracy. You trust your intuition not as a guess, but as an informed inner signal. Presence brings together logic, intuition, and emotional intelligence into a unified decision-making force. On an emotional level, mindfulness strengthens resilience. When life becomes chaotic, a present mind does not collapse. It remains steady. It observes the storm without being swept away by it. This emotional grounding allows you to navigate challenges with grace instead of panic. You begin to understand that your thoughts are not your identity. They are experiences, temporary, malleable, and under your influence. This awareness frees you from mental suffering and empowers you to choose the emotional states that support your growth. Mindfulness also enhances your ability to focus deeply. As you train your attention through presence, distractions lose their power over you. Your brain becomes more capable of staying with one task at a time. You stop drifting mid-conversation. You stop mentally checking out during important work. You stop losing focus because your mind has been conditioned to remain anchored. This deepens your cognitive endurance and elevates your mental sharpness in profound ways. The most beautiful part of mindfulness is that it returns your power to you. It reminds you that you are not at the mercy of your past, your stress, or your inner dialogue. You are the observer. You are the creator. You are the one who chooses where your mind goes. And when you choose presence, you choose clarity, peace, and precision. You choose a sharper mind. You choose a higher life. A mind trained in presence is a mind that cannot be shaken easily. It becomes calm in chaos, clear in confusion, and focused in opportunity. It becomes a tool of extraordinary intelligence and deeply intuitive wisdom. This is what mindfulness creates. This is what presence strengthens. And this is what allows you to navigate life with confidence, insight, and an unwavering sense of direction. Topic 9. Unlocking higher intelligence through strategic visualization and mental rehearsal. There is a reason top performers, elite athletes, world-class entrepreneurs, and visionary leaders rely so heavily on visualization. It trains the brain to operate at a higher level. Visualization is not daydreaming. It is not wishful thinking. It is a scientifically proven technique that strengthens neural circuits, enhances cognitive performance, and accelerates personal transformation. When you visualize a skill, a task, or a future version of yourself, your brain responds as if the experience is real. It fires the same neurons. It strengthens the same pathways. It prepares your mind for success long before success arrives. Strategic visualization, when practiced consistently, becomes one of the most effective brain training tools available. Mental rehearsal is a powerful extension of visualization. It allows you to practice scenarios in your mind with precision, confidence, and emotional grounding. Athletes like Michael Jordan used mental rehearsal before every game, imagining the plays, the movements, the pressure, and the outcome. Olympic competitors spend hours visualizing their routines before physically performing them. Surgeons mentally rehearse complex procedures to improve accuracy. Public speakers envision the clarity of their message and the calmness of their delivery. This is not fantasy. It is cognitive conditioning. The brain learns through repetition, whether the repetition is physical or mental. The extraordinary part is that visualization can elevate your intelligence. When you visualize a complex concept, a strategic plan, or a desired outcome, your brain begins organizing information differently. It arranges data into patterns. It strengthens associative thinking. It clarifies goals. It anticipates obstacles. It simulates solutions. Your mind becomes more strategic because visualization forces it to think in structured layers. It is a form of mental architecture, the building of ideas in 3 dimensions. Consider how entrepreneurs use visualization to build their companies. Elon Musk is known for mentally simulating engineering solutions before his teams begin designing them. He rehearses ideas in his mind with such clarity that he can identify flaws before the first blueprint is even created. Oprah Winfrey visualized her influence and career long before the world recognized her. Jeff Bezos often envisioned Amazon years into the future, using mental rehearsal to anticipate customer needs and strategic pivots. These leaders understand that visualization is not imagining success. It is engineering it in the mind before manifesting it in the world. Visualization sharpens your mind because it requires mental clarity and intentional focus. When you visualize, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for planning, decision-making, and higher cognitive function. You also stimulate the motor cortex, emotional centers, and sensory regions of the brain. This whole brain activation is what makes visualization so powerful. It trains your mind to think more holistically, more creatively, and more intelligently. It is like a mental workout that strengthens your cognitive muscles. Visualization also elevates your emotional intelligence. When you mentally rehearse challenging situations, difficult conversations, high-pressure moments, or important decisions, you prepare your emotional responses ahead of time. You train yourself to stay calm, grounded, and confident. You reduce the element of surprise. You transform fear into familiarity. This emotional rehearsal is why performers, athletes, and leaders stay composed under pressure. Their minds have already lived the moment. Their emotions have already practiced resilience. Their inner world has already experienced success, so their outer world simply catches up. A powerful effect of strategic visualization is its ability to remove mental resistance. Most people fail to pursue big goals not because they lack ability, but because their mind has not yet accepted those goals as possible. Visualization bridges that gap. It familiarizes the brain with the future you desire. It conditions your subconscious to believe in the outcome. And when belief strengthens, resistance weakens. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop doubting your potential. You stop shrinking from opportunities. Your mind begins to move towards success automatically because it has rehearsed success internally. Visualization also enhances creativity. When you close your eyes and imagine new possibilities, your mind becomes free from external limitations. You see solutions no one else sees. You explore ideas without judgment. You create mental prototypes. Companies like Pixar, Apple, and Tesla rely heavily on mental iteration, visualizing ideas long before they enter the physical world. This kind of creative thinking is only possible when the mind is trained to visualize with precision and imagination. Creativity is not random inspiration. It is the ability to see what does not yet exist. Visualization trains this ability. On a deeper level, visualization strengthens identity. When you see yourself acting with clarity, success, confidence, and intelligence, your mind begins to identify with that version of you. Identity shapes behavior. A person who sees themselves as powerful will act powerfully. A person who sees themselves as capable will pursue capable actions. A person who sees themselves succeeding will make decisions aligned with success. Visualization feeds identity with intentional imagery, and identity responds by shaping your thoughts, habits, and behavior. This is how inner transformation becomes outer transformation. Visualization also enhances memory retention. When you imagine information vividly, whether it's a speech, a concept, or a set of instructions, you anchor it more deeply in your brain. This is why memory champions use visualization to recall massive amounts of data. They create mental images so strong that the information becomes unforgettable. Your mind is wired to remember images more easily than words. When you combine information with visualization, you build a memory network that is far more reliable and efficient. Perhaps one of the most life-changing aspects of visualization is how it aligns your subconscious mind with your conscious goals. Your subconscious controls habits, emotional patterns, confidence levels, and automatic responses. When you visualize regularly, you feed your subconscious with a consistent image of who you are becoming. The subconscious begins to accept this image as truth. It starts adjusting your behaviors to match it. You speak differently. You think differently. You show up differently. You align with your future self not by force, but by inner agreement. Strategic visualization is not about escaping reality. It is about shaping it. It is about rehearsing success until success becomes familiar. It is about training your brain to recognize opportunities, overcome challenges, and operate at its highest potential. It is mental practice with real-world consequences. Every time you visualize, you sharpen your cognitive ability, expand your creativity, strengthen your emotional intelligence, and align your identity with your goals. The mind becomes sharper because it sees clearly. The spirit becomes stronger because it believes deeply. And the path becomes easier because you have already walked it internally. Visualization is a tool of the extraordinary, a tool of the visionary, a tool of the prosperous, and once you master it, your mind will never think at the same level again. Topic 10. The mind you shape becomes the life you live. When you look back at everything we've explored in this journey, focus, flexibility, memory, rest, learning, presence, visualization, it all points to one profound truth. Your mind is the architect of your destiny. Every thought you strengthen, every cognitive habit you reinforce, every moment of awareness you cultivate contributes to the person you are becoming. A sharper mind is not something you are given. It is something you build. And when you build it consciously, intentionally, and consistently, it becomes the greatest advantage you could ever possess. For too long, people have underestimated the power of their own minds. They have assumed limits that never existed. They have lived inside mental structures built by fear, habit, and old conditioning rather than by potential, purpose, and possibility. But the moment you understand that the mind is malleable, trainable, expandable, everything changes. You stop living reactively and start living strategically. You stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start realizing that life is responding to you. A sharp mind is a magnet for opportunity. It sees what others miss. It thinks in ways others can't. It finds solutions in places others overlook. It notices patterns that lead to breakthroughs. It operates with clarity even when the world feels noisy. Think of the entrepreneurs who built global empires not because they had more resources, but because they had sharper insight. Think of the leaders who shaped history not through force, but through clarity of thought. Think of the innovators who transformed industries because they learned to think beyond the ordinary. Their success wasn't luck, it was cognitive mastery, and you are not different from them. Your brain holds the same ability to grow, adapt, innovate, and create. What separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones is not talent, but training. Not chance, but choice. Not circumstances, but mental conditioning. When you choose to train your mind, you activate a level of intelligence within you that has been waiting, quietly, patiently, for direction. You awaken a version of yourself capable of far more than you have ever imagined. Every technique you've learned, intentional activation, single-task focus, mental flexibility, memory expansion, cognitive rituals, deep rest, continuous learning, mindfulness, and visualization, builds upon the next. Together they form a framework for mental excellence, a system for personal evolution, a blueprint for creating a future aligned with your highest potential. When practiced consistently, these techniques begin to compound. Your clarity improves, your focus strengthens, your creativity multiplies, your emotional resilience deepens, your decisions become more precise. You start feeling a sense of internal alignment, as if your mind and your future are moving in the same direction. This is the power of mental training. It transforms not just how you think, but who you become. And once your identity shifts, your life follows. You begin to rise with more confidence. You begin to take action with more purpose. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that match your elevated mindset. The world starts to open in ways you may have once believed were meant only for others. But now you see how much of success is internal, not external. It is earned in the mind long before it is seen in the world. There will be moments when your old patterns try to pull you back. The mind loves familiarity, but the more you practice these techniques, the more your brain rewires itself. You begin to crave clarity more than distraction. You begin to crave growth more than comfort. You begin to crave alignment more than avoidance. The shifts happen gradually at first, then suddenly. One day you will look at your life and realize you think differently, you feel differently, you respond differently, and that difference becomes your advantage. The truth is simple. You do not need a perfect life to cultivate a powerful mind. You do not need everything to be easy in order to grow. Growth often happens in the tension between where you are and where you want to be. A sharper mind helps you navigate that tension with grace, intelligence, and purpose. It helps you rise above circumstances instead of being shaped by them. It helps you build a future that reflects your highest potential rather than your past limitations. You are capable of brilliance. You are capable of deep insight. You are capable of thinking at a level that elevates not only your life but the lives of those around you. You are capable of becoming the kind of person whose presence inspires confidence, clarity, and trust. And all of that begins in the mind. All of that begins with the decision to train the most powerful instrument you will ever possess. Your journey does not end here, it begins here. Because now you understand the truth. The mind you shape becomes the life you live. If you want a sharper mind, you now have the tools. If you want greater success, the blueprint is in your hands. If you want prosperity, clarity, abundance, and purpose, you have the foundation to build all of it. The question now is simple. Will you use it? Will you train your mind? Will you rise to the level of your potential? Because your future self is waiting, and they are sharper, stronger, wiser, and more powerful than you can imagine. Step into that future, not someday, but today. Your mind is ready. If this video awakened something in you, if you felt your mind sharpen, your clarity deepen, and your potential rise, then don't let this moment pass. Take a deep breath and step fully into your growth. Subscribe to the Success and Prosperity Code channel so you never miss the content that elevates your mind and expands your future. Like this video to amplify its reach. Comment below with the insight that shifted you the most. Your words may be exactly what someone else needs to begin their transformation. And share this video with someone you care about, someone you want to rise with you. Together, we're not just learning, we're evolving, expanding, and creating a life of abundance, clarity, and limitless possibility. Stay focused, stay intentional, and keep training your mind. Because your best chapter begins now.